zwemmen. Dat best op de strand. Als naar huis willen, naar het zwembad. En als op het zwembad zij zegt dat ze niet willen zwemmen. Ja, dat is bij zijn.
Na de helemaal zo.
Ik zal het er even uitleggen. Ik geef het weer naar de auto zijn.
Ja hoor.
Wat ik zelf.
Meestal werkt het niet. Een beetje spelen. Precies.
Maar ik ken het altijd.
Best ga ik gewoon allemaal.
Precies wat je wilt. Ja.
I'll be right shut down underneath the hot sun, feeling like someone. I'll be right shut down underneath the hot sun.
What's everyone else doing?
I'll be right shut down underneath the hot sun, feeling like someone. I'll be right shut down underneath the hot sun.
We try again.
Is gewoon niet inhoudelijk, gewoon niet personalized. Als je van cardgames houdt, zie je maar cardgames. Ja, ik kan wel misschien.
Maar je start even later.
Ja, precies. Het is niet echt wat personalized betekent, het is meer contextualized of zo.
Laat even passen.
Ja, ik snap het.
Dan gaan we weer over geschiedenis.
Ja.
Anybody want some rosé? Hey. How you doing?
Yeah, that's how you do.
I want me to
Hey, what's your name?
Nice.
15, dus niks aan
Dus gaan tellen.
Ja.
Okay, Stijn? Okay, we're gonna start. Welcome, everybody. Today we have a big schedule. So, yeah, have a drink. Stay tuned. Game loading on Cloudflare, an analytics update, Poki for devs, mobile user growth pilots, add-ons and partnerships, and individual pension update. And after that, we have a party, of course.
Tomorrow.
I'll keep it short. Game loading on Cloudflare. So a while ago we switched Playground to hosting on Cloudflare, and a couple of weeks ago we also switched the games itself to Cloudflare, and here are the results for that. So on the first, we switched games to Cloudflare, and on the 8th we actually found some issues. A week later, should have been earlier, but we weren't really looking at any dashboards. So some games were actually loading slower because some assets were not being compressed properly. So to make the games bigger. Then on the 13th, we fixed that. And everything was fine, except apparently for Stencil / Colin Lane games. Colin Lane is, I think, well, not the only user of Stencil engine, but those games were broken for a couple of days. That's fixed now as well. Here are some results. So I took some Unity games, our most popular Unity games. As you can see, the loading time on Horizon, the loading time on Cloudflare in those 2 weeks that it didn't work properly, or 1 week, a little bit more than 1 week. And after that, the times on Cloudflare as they are now, like good. So as you can see, like Angry Grand Run was loading like on average 2 seconds faster. Bullet Force multiplayer is like 12 seconds faster. You see a percentage as well. Running Thread lost like a second, so that loads a second slower. But I think that has to do with the parsing state experiment that's running there. I don't know, Robert, it was, you looked at it. I forgot to ask you. Parsing state made things slower, right?
A bit, yeah.
A bit, yeah. So that's probably because of these games. I think only Running Thread has the parsing state. So most games actually load a bit faster. And then if you look at the completion rate, so that's the number of times that the game loading start event is called and the game loading finish, and then which percentage actually has the finish event. I only here also again Horizon, Cloudflare, bad and good. So you can see that in the end, the improvement from going from Horizon to Cloudflare, you can see that, for example, Dunkers 2 has like almost 5% more completion rate. So 5% less people who just stop during loading because it takes too long. Again, Running Thread is a bit slower, lost a bit. All the others a bit better. So overall, switching to Cloudflare, very good for us. Here the biggest winners and one loser for games. So actually, well, I've never played it before. Gangster Contract Mafia Wars. It apparently has like in the weeks that I collected this data has like 80,000, 70,000 gameplays, and it's loading more than a minute faster now on average. Like Go-Kart Go also more than a minute faster. Yeah, I don't know. There's some bigger games in here. So Subway Surfers is also one of the bigger ones. But Subway Surfers is also not completely fair because the Barcelona update is like, I think, 10 megabytes smaller than what was the before Barcelona? Miami. Yeah, Miami or Bali, sorry. Bali was a lot bigger, so Subway Surfers is not completely fair, but all the other games should be, a lot of improvements. And if you look at the breakdown per country, you can see that this is the loading time. Like US doesn't matter that much because in the US a lot of people have fast internet and Verizon has like proper servers in the US. But if you look at a country like Venezuela, for example, where we have quite a lot of users, there Verizon didn't really have fast servers, and now Cloudflare does have, so we gained like 6% in loading times in Venezuela just by switching from Verizon to Cloudflare. So I think overall it was a good decision to switch to Cloudflare, and everything is running fine now, and everything is good. Any questions?
So what's the goal of switching Horizon Cloudflare? Was the goal to improve the loading time, or is it just a...
No, that's just the goal was to just have a better CDN because Horizon is like super, everything was old-fashioned. They didn't support any new technologies. They were really slow with responding to us. They were just overall bad. And Cloudflare is a lot better and a lot more features. Yeah.
I have one question about page two pages up. Oh, 1 page down, so sorry. Do you have an explanation why Subway Surfers also doubled its gameplays?
The before and after times were not exactly the same. I took like a rough amount of days after, so most of the games were quite similar-ish. But I think Subway Surfers also gained a lot of gameplays because it's recommended for like almost all games now as a Flash replacement.
Yeah,
not almost all, but a lot of them.
we also see a bit of a bump for every update. So if there's an update that happens
Also.
in this time period, that would
Yeah.
also make
But so primarily the after period may be longer than the before period.
The after period, I think, was a little bit longer than the before period.
And Subway Surfers also gained 20% gains since we went by the score-based recommender.
Also,
From
so
14. So you should read the before and after just as numbers to verify that's enough data to draw conclusions
Yeah.
about the speed.
yeah, I added the gameplays here, so you can see that I'm not talking about like 2 gameplays or something, and so it's a bunch of gameplays. Anything else? No. Okay.
Yeah, so small update on analytics, actually the analytics boards. Previously with analytics, we would work from either project boards or boards from other teams. And we thought it might be time for a more centralized approach to be sure that things get done in the time it has to be done. So this is the analytics board. We've been working on it in the past weeks, and we've been working from it in the past week. So we use this also in the sort of alignment meeting or the planning meeting on Monday, and it works out pretty well. What is good to know for you is that you can place a task on incoming in the first column. Be sure that it has a decent description. It tells which project it belongs to. You can put a deadline there if there's a hard deadline. If there's not, please don't. And you can fill in the request type, so it's easier for us to divide the task between the analytics team being Alex, Harme, Gijs, and myself. And sometimes Pim for now helps a bit because a lot of analytics work has been done in the mobile user growth project. So that's good to know. And for the request types, and for all of you that you know, like what kind of things can I ask from them, I made this sort of small overview in which the colors just pretty much saying which kind of area of analytics it is, and the white parts are actually the request types that you can fill in the request. So it can either be a data warehouse improvement. So you can say I use this table a lot for certain kinds of insights, but it's not structurally stable in data warehouse yet. And then we can check if that's possible with Wouter. There's event tracking. So if there's certain events or things you want to know for an experiment and it's not there yet, we can make sure that that it's there. Then there's for the experiments, there's the analysis in general, and there's experimental design. So every time you're doing an experiment, it's nice to that there's one person that is responsible for the whole experimental design. And also for the events that are so that person can also make sure that the events are tracked properly. And then there's insights. So it's just you want an insight on like game titles, creators, anything, could be anything, or some ad information. And there's dashboarding. If you need a dashboard or anything, you can always let us know. I will not do all dashboards, but we can at least be sure that it's on the roadmap for the analytics team. So that's it. Thanks.
So I'll be also really quick. I just wanted to give an update on where things stand. So last week we shared a demo where we're at with Poki for developers. And this week on that MVP, we were working on some more backend fixes, as well as a few design tweaks, essentially to get that demo ready to actually show to developers, which we're planning to do the week after next. We also unblocked a big epic around the revenue share system. So now we actually have a structure for how to begin the technical groundwork on a new revenue share system, so we can move away from Poki Publishing. Along with this, we unblocked structure on developer and user entities. So essentially we have individuals and then we have companies, and how do we deal with them and how do we structure them? So come to a good conclusion on that. So it's a good base to build upon. And then today, Iris and I got to start on actually mapping out some user stories so we can start to plan subsequent sprints. Next week, Casper and Iris will be in London, but I'll continue working on the user story mapping and also applying it to the roadmap so we have that longer term view. So I'll probably share that next week's weekly update. Additionally, the revenue share system technical groundwork will begin. It's a bigger team effort. And we'll also continue some of the operational work around user research, so it can actually begin the week after next. So we actually have things planned in with certain developers, time with them to ask questions, show them the demo, and move everything forward. So that's it. Questions? Thanks.
So, I hope you can all recall the experiment that we're doing with Live the Game, the 2 versions that Tim showed you last week or the week before. We've tested those 2 versions in the wild in Brazil, the control and the instant version. Yeah, it wasn't specifically for Brazil. It was in the wild. Yeah. Okay. We were looking specifically for conversion to play and for the level progress to see if the progress between the control and the instant version was equal. Maybe it's good. We defined conversion to play as the people that triggered game loader start, or as the percentage of the people that actually that had a gameplay level 1 start divided over the game loader start. So if people would get into the first level, that would be a conversion. And we had a success metric set up if we could get the conversion to play from 60% to 90%, and if the drop off per level would be stable. So initial results, conversion to play went from 46% to 94%.
Oh, hey!
So yay, we got it. But no, the level progress is not really stable. This is all the people entering level 1. So you can see in both the control and the instant version, we've counted only the people that got into level 1. In the control version, we still have 50% of the people in level 1. In the instant version, only 30%. And you can see that in from level 2 to level 3, we lose even more. So there is something which is not quite right. And you could say, well, we got many more people into the instant version than in the control version. But you can see here that even with all those people there, we have less left in the last level. So that's a bit of a shame. We have to find out more about that. And I think Pim is now going to tell something.
Yep. I'm going to talk what's wrong, right? Oh.
Let's see.
So what's going on? We're not sure yet. Just a reminder, we are at play at about 6.5 seconds on the standard 3G connection. But if we put our version into one of Google's tools, you can see that the time to interactive is actually one of the metrics that takes 21 seconds. How they measure time to interactive is 3 different things. So first, the page has useful content. Well, in this case, we do, as you can play. Event handlers are registered for most visible page elements. Basically means you click a button, something happens. And then the last one, the page responds to user interactions within 50 milliseconds. And it looks like that is where we went wrong, or that's where we can learn something, as it takes 21 seconds for our page to start responding within the 50 milliseconds. So what I think the reason is that that it takes so long is that we keep loading everything that is not loaded yet while the level starts. So you can start this level very quickly. Then at this point, at this very moment where you're trying to tap and do something, we're still loading on the background. And at this point, I think devices that have slightly less memory or slightly less processing power cannot handle that at the same time. Therefore, you experience lag. You have a gameplay that basically sucks and you go away. So the direction we're thinking at right now to solve this is go more like slightly more like this. So you would get born at the very start. You have your first meaningful paint. At that point, you load whatever is necessary to play the first level. Then when you get into the first level, nothing happens except for 2 events, which is basically nothing. And then in the next screen, you're loading the next level again. Could also end up that we're going in a different direction, as I still need to discuss it with the team. The results are just from this afternoon. If you have any other ideas, suggestions, or remarks, please let me know. This is where we're thinking right now. Questions? Yeah, Martin?
2 questions. Was the test only on mobile?
No, but I think the results displayed were only on mobile, right?
The results were
Yeah, the results displayed were only on mobile.
Yeah.
But we also have desktop results.
And then, is there a reason why we're looking at, I mean, I imagine it's hard to visualize drop off in any other way, but have we looked at the average session duration of the control and the experiment? Because if you're just looking at the level, is it possible that a player could just be bad at the level?
Yeah, that could be possible. I don't know.
I did look at the time on page in this case, because it's just this game. And at first, the control version had a way longer time on page, but like in the first couple of days. But now they are growing towards each other, and it's more or less the same. So not sure if there could be something in there.
Don't know at this point.
We know that Live the Game has not the best retention statistics, so I'm not sure if people are coming back often.
We could check it out. I think in general, because we acquire almost all those users in this game, they would be almost all new. Anything else? Otherwise, I'm gonna end it to add-ons and partnerships. All right.
So, since last week, we have started experimenting from switching from AdSense for a Google video to AdExchange. Let's start first with identify with what AdSense is and what AdExchange is. So AdSense is an ad network. An ad network basically links advertisers to sellers. So there's only one thing in the middle, which is AdExchange. AdSense. On the other hand, AdExchange link multiple ad networks which are linked to different advertisers, and it sells inventory to these people, which is available through different sellers, for example, Poki. So we started the experiment on the 14th of August with 4 geos. The first 3 geos were Argentina, Portugal, and Romania. In these geos, we were running both AdSense and AdExchange for a period of time. What we identified was that AdExchange was consistently offering a higher CPM than AdSense. So we thought, why are we running both, and why not just switch to one of it? So we switched to just AdExchange, and what we saw was that AdExchange was offering the same number of impressions as AdSense and AdExchange together, and yeah, of course, it was offering a higher CPM, which led to a higher revenue in general. The second thing that we wanted to test was what would happen if we switch a geo which only ran AdSense to AdExchange. We tried Italy, which is a tier B country, and we saw that AdExchange offer a higher CPM compared to AdSense. Not only that, but it was also offering higher impressions. This drove up the revenue, which tripled when switching between the two. The next one that we checked was Australia. So we wanted to test Australia because it's a tier 8 geo. AdExchange was offering consistently higher CPM, again, same story as Italy. Also, it was offering the same number of impressions, more or less, but because the CPM was higher, this led to a much higher revenue in general. The next one that we checked was France. France, we decided to go with it because it's a tier B geo, but we wanted to see what would happen if we switch between the two at a bigger scale. So the findings here are again consistent to what we saw in Australia and Italy, with AdSense offering AdExchange offering a much higher CPM than AdSense, more impressions in general, and also a much higher revenue. So what are the next steps? First of all, we expanded this in Canada and Mexico on the 21st of August. So we want to measure there also what the impact is. Secondly, we want to confirm that there is no impact on ad quality, and also to check some ad performance metrics, such as VCR, video completion rate, and click-through rate. And if everything looks promising, similar to the geos that we already checked, to roll it out globally. The expectation is that we will get a monthly increase in the Google video revenue at the range of 60,000 euros. But of course, this is an overestimate because it might be the case that the revenue from Google Video might increase, but it might decrease, for example, in header bidding. Because, for example, maybe CPM in header bidding is 4 euros, then the CPM with Google Ad Exchange is 5 euros. So it's not that we're going 5 euros higher, we're going 1 euro higher. Yeah, basically, that's the main story. Questions?
Are you also looking at the Playground performance metrics? Because I saw for especially the first geos, I think there was also like twice as many video impressions.
Yeah.
Those have to come from somewhere. I assume there are pre-rolls. That might also have a negative impact on user experience. So might be worth looking into that too. I don't know if load times also are longer or something. Header bidding in general is more expensive when it comes to network requests than direct stuff like AdSense. So it might be worth having a look also at not just the ad metrics.
We haven't really looked into it up until now, but yeah, it's a valid and fair point.
I think there are two important comments there to make. So we're going from Google AdSense to Google Ad Exchange. So we're not going to header bidding. So we're not.
It's basically Google header bidding.
No, it's basically just a different direct link to Google. So it's not going through the header bidding stack at all.
Yeah, it's not the previous, but it's still header bidding. But then inside Google system.
It doesn't do any extra requests or doesn't load anything extra. Basically, AdSense just does the campaigns that are managed in AdSense, whatever, and in Ad Exchange, you have like just a whole bunch of networks who manage their campaigns through that. So all the bidding stuff is still happening inside Google. This doesn't give us any extra load.
And it's the same speed as AdSense.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Roughly.
And the second comment. The second comment I wanted to make, okay, that's it. Second one is about Italy. If you go back to your chart about Italy, so there you see this growth in impressions. So that kind of puzzled us as well for a while. The reason that happens is that because the CPM is higher now, so instead of around 1, it's now like 1.5 or so. It's now beating the minimum video bid in Italy. So we've kind of said, we don't want to show our users pre-rolls or mid-rolls or whatever from Google if they're worth less than 150 or so. But now it is beating that minimum threshold. So in that sense, that's the reason why we're showing more video impressions. So that is showing the user more ads, that's true, but it is kind of already, because it's surpassing a boundary that we've set to protect the user.
Makes sense, still means they're seeing more pre-rolls, and we should check if that like has significant negative impact. If it changes the baseline.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks.
Looks promising though.
Can you also see an ad exchange where the data is coming from? So part of AdSense and part of other networks? You have to speak that.
I suppose that's possible. We should take a look at that.
I have a question. So, why did we decide to try this now? Like, I'm not wrong, that exchange is not something we do, right?
Fair point. So we have tried this before. We have looked into it before, and in the past, AdSense indeed offer a higher CPM than AdExchange. But thanks to Robert for pointing that out, we decided to take one more look, and yeah, the results up until this point are really, really promising.
Could even be temporary. It's hard for you to predict, but
it's hard to say right now, and it's also something else that we would like to see, to look into it, how it affects revenue for other video sources. So let's say from direct video or from header bidding video. But yeah, I think that's not something temporary. I think that from what I have read also online about how an ad network works and an ad exchange work, this should be something that it should be consistent in the future.
Big applause for Alex.
Big applause for Stijn.
and Govert and Joren, who are all not here. But as you know, we've been working on the individual pension setup for employees at Poker. And remember this, there are structures in pension, how you do it. Well, I'm not going in there. We focus on the third pillar. And we've been sort of looking at the options within this pillar for everyone here. And what we found quite quickly is that it's pretty complex, actually hard to really look at the different options and then have a informed opinion on which one is better. So we decided to sort of put our bright minds to it and see if we could find which provider suits us best. And that's what we've done over the couple of last 2-3 weeks. So we've had a couple of meetings on Wednesdays where we sat and sort of asked questions, and then out of that session each time, Joren would ring all these different parties and ask them all these complicated questions. And slowly but steadily, we sort of decreased the list of providers that we found interesting for our specific needs and wants, which led to a sort of overview of metrics that we took into account when looking at these providers. We've shown you 2-3 weeks ago the 4 different providers, how they played out. We sort of made a smaller overview today. So we're looking at costs, risk, flexibility, including sort of return on investment. So how aggressive can you play? What happens when you die? And how are they in terms of communication? That's a long list. We've brought that further down to 3 parties, Bright, Rabobank, and Brand New Day. The reason that we have these 3 is that we found, when you think back to the previous slide, hey, risk might be an issue. Are those young companies, are they well equipped? If something goes wrong, how would that work? What are the costs? If you really break it down, if you really go deep, because remember, we had a presentation here where there were some costs, but maybe not as clear as possible, or as clear on first sight. So we compared 3 parties in the end on their sort of key features. And what we found is that for our specific situation, Brand New Day is the provider that suits us best. Because in terms of costs, they are the most interesting one. In terms of flexibility, they allow you to be as defensive or as aggressive as you want to be. compared to the other partners. And in terms of communication, and I mean here they're almost equal to Bright. They're the most sort of personal, easy access. Their site is in English. It just works best for us. Doesn't mean that Koen, for instance, is already with Bright, and I think which is also a very good option. I mean, all three options are very good options. Just for our specific case, we feel that Brand New Day suits us best. That's still possible. So if you would prefer, oh, I want a different provider, or I need a specific alternative, that's fine. Please do. But we decided this morning that probably it's best to have one provider for Poki. So if new employees come, yes, there's a pension. Yes, it's with Brand New Day. This is how it's set up. If you need something else, that's okay. Just let us know and we'll take care of it. Because what Poki does is Poki will pay the fixed fee, so the yearly cost, and will pay a small contribution to accommodate for the variable management fee. So you see this is a fixed cost per year, and this is a fee that you pay over your acquired or your savings, so to say, for management and administrative work. So we'll give you a small amount to compensate for those costs. We'll do that also with Bright, obviously. But for Poki as a whole, we decided to go for Brand New Day. Meaning that there are some next steps. We'll have a similar to Bright, a presentation from the people of Brand New Day. Sort of, you might hear the same thing, but slightly different. They'll do an individual Q&A. I have to say it's not financial advice. So if you come and say, oh, you know, what should I do with my savings? They're not allowed to do it. So they actively say, I can't give you that advice because that's not who we are. You'll then set up an account, and Poki pays the yearly fee plus a contribution, like I already said. So, Casper, anything you'd like to add to this?
Small one,
Sorry?
no, don't think so.
Any questions from you guys?
Yeah, one question. What about people who don't want to do anything with this? They just have to not do anything?
Exactly, you just leave it be. So we looked in with the salary increases, we said it's either full-blown Poki pension, and we decided against it because it's really inflexible. So we said, okay, with that salary increase, we'll facilitate a pension saving plan where you can then put that money or not, if you want, or more, into that plan.
Yeah, can you also start later with this?
No, start now. After all this work. No, you can start later, but it's better to start now instead of later. No, you can. You can be expected. You can also pause. You can start now. If you're tired or you want to do something else with your money, you can pause for a minute. You can even stop. Let's say you go after a couple of years and work for a big organization that has a pension in the second pillar. Then you just put this. You don't pay anymore into this account. It will pay out at the end. But the reason why you do it rather sooner than later is that your money works for you. So the moment it's there, it's making you money. So if you don't do it now, but you start doing it in 10 years, you have 10 years less, and it goes like this. So at the end, it makes you more money. So the sooner the money is in there.
Yeah, but more like if you don't want to start in a few weeks, but you can start in 2 months.
Sorry, yes, of course. I thought you meant in a couple of years.
Yeah. I sent you an invite. Please accept it. Or yeah, if you're not accepting it, please come to me. Why you're not gonna accept it? And yeah, more info about this will come soon. Then I'm gonna refresh this. Buzz, can I?
Yeah, sure.
Yes, so that was that. Then we have some nice summer drinks on the roof. later. But first, we're gonna say goodbye to two lovely ladies, and I'm gonna give the word to.
Yeah, I'll start with Xenia. It's okay. Get prepared. Get prepared.
I'll make you pick.
Okay, just a couple of words to have a moment about your next step, because you are going to leave us and you're going to work for a company called Radiant. And I think, of course, sounds like an amazing opportunity, but I wanted to highlight a couple of things that struck me when looking at Radiant. And I think the first one is that their tagline is powered by automation, driven by results. And somehow it immediately made me think of you. And I thought that tagline could be written for you, because you are very much powered by automation and also very much driven by results. And I will show you. Because you came here on 17th of September in a different role at first. You started as a platform community manager, then moved on to game development, then moved on to advertising, very flexible in mind. And wherever you came, you brought some tools with you, some form of automating things that we did differently. I think Pipedrive is a nice example. That really is a sales tool to keep track of all your leads and how you work with partners, clients, etc. Something that we are now using both in the game developer corner, but also in our advertising corner. So that's something that really brought us a lot of value. Kogel, I won't say much yet, but next week he'll show something. It's a mind map tool. Airtable, you're the one bringing that in. I think Harman has fun with Airtable every other day. Canva down in the left corner is a tool to create all kinds of creative tools. So impressed by your automation, and you're very savvy with Data Studio. You create dashboards for brands. Impressed. So I was very surprised by the fact that Asana was something that you really, really hated. You could not understand why we had to put everything in Asana the whole time. Even OKRs in Asana, again in Asana, putting in your updates. You got frustrated. Your eyes went big. And said, really? Do I put it in Asana? Is that where we now look?
I'm not the only one here. I know it.
No, I did some user research to sort of, because maybe you're right. And quite quickly I found that also Cesar is thinking, what business problems are you solving at Asana? He doesn't know, nor does Danielle. What do you like best? Nothing. Also, Sani was thinking, structural words, Asana, why? And the whole gaming sphere is quite clear on this tool. So maybe you're onto something, I don't know. It kind of leads me in that way, but I love your automation. Maybe you're going to find a place where you can do that without the burden of Asana.
I'm going to introduce Asana.
That would be interesting.
I master it now. I love it now.
So automation on the one hand, driven by results on the other hand, is something that really describes you, because from the get-go you said, give me a target, just give me a target and I'll go. You know, away with all the let's first align, let's touch base with left, right. No, just give me a target and I'll go. And I know that's one of your strengths, that you are very driven, very strong in let's just go, let's try and let's discover what's happening. And I think I've now touched base mainly on sort of the tagline of Gradient and not so much on Poki. But I think you do fit very well in our culture, because that whole idea of let's just go and let's see what happens if we try, is of course in the core very much plays how we learn. And I think that's something that, you helped bring or unearth more. And I think we can always use inspiration in that area, that, let's just try and see what happens and learn along the way and have fun while doing it. I think you put that really into practice, and you've also you've really shown that once you go into a new space, so into the game developer space, quite quickly you got the hang of it, and then you moved to advertising, and within no time you were starting up I still sometimes don't really know what it means, but Xenia had it and was implementing them quite soon. So I think that shows that you are easy to learn new things and really add value in new spaces. So you're going to leave us, and we'll miss you, but I think you're going to do amazing as a business development and innovation manager, which again suits you very well. So stay in touch, and hope to see you at Poki from time to time. We have a present for you.
Oh, it's getting a second later.
I'll put it here, but then it's here. Later, sorry.
All right, Tatjana.
I'm scared by something.
You're scared? It'll be gentle. Right. So, yeah, second person you announced you're leaving us today. So, some time to recap the past year. Want to start off with the first memory I have about you. It's not really these pictures. I think these are on the Christmas party, and I'm not really sure, but
Mr. Bird.
Bird, yeah. I remember in I think pretty much the first conversation I had with you, we were describing some of the problems, challenges around the product and product management at Poki. I think you were very quick to share your reaction, which was you need product management, period. And I still remember that line. I think about it quite a bit because I think you were right. We do need product management. I think that's still the case. But I think it also showed how you are passionate about the topic and how you're very opinionated. And when you feel something is right, you feel there's something for the organization or the other person to learn, that you're really strong in expressing that opinion. I've appreciated that, and I think that over the past year, that's been resulting in quite a few memorable highlights, and I want to, go through a few of those here. So, so this is again not the highlight itself, although the stage was really nice here and you decorated it. Yeah. So this is actually one of the highlights where you created a Russian cocktail bar right here on the platform. All decorated. I think I also want to show this here because you joined Poki not too long after Bartosz, and I remember that pretty soon the two of you were stirring things up. I think we were in the middle of the playground transition back then, and we're getting blocked by a few things. And when Bartosz first joined, unblocking product delivery and making things moving again, I think you joined not too long afterwards, and we're pretty quick to take the lead in upgrading the SDK to a new version together with Audrey and Cosmo. And I think that was great because we needed that, because we needed monetization to be up to par, and it helped us transition to Playground. But was also impressive. It was also impressive because it was an example of how you kind of took the lead there and really took ownership and got people together and made things moving. And thankful for the role you played in the transition, but also in the energy you brought into the company and the things you put into motion. And been thinking about it for a bit more, and I think that energy might also have had something to do with the other things you were doing at the time, because you had quite a few side projects you're working on. So I guess you were bringing some of that entrepreneurial spirit into the company. So this is the stuff you were doing at night next to your full-time job. Workshop market. It's impressive you were building a multi-sided platform of your own, aside to Poki, and not just building it, but also talking to investors, going to conferences, talking to users, which really is it's quite a bit of work to build out a platform. It's still live. I hope that people are finding new experiences as a part of it. Not sure if you're still working on it as you were back then, but it seems the case. It seems like an active site. So who knows? Next to that, I was impressed to learn that you were writing a book also, which you can see on the right. You even sold us a few copies, I think, not too long after you first joined. I think they're still in the library for anyone who wants to have a read. Yeah, I think both of these examples are signs that you like to learn by doing and really get into it. And I really appreciate that, and also how you brought some of that to Poki in the past year. So, getting back to the first conversation, you need product management. I think the way I've experienced and still experiencing that challenge, it's a complex process. Feels like a puzzle sometimes because everyone's involved and we're building this thing together. I wanted to take a moment to talk about this photo, especially the one on the left, because I think it's symbolic in a few ways. It was again just against Michiel, and I was, frightened by the battle. Like I wouldn't dare to play against either of you, actually. I'd lose for sure. I think it shows you're, shows you're a highly analytical person, and it's a thing I've appreciated in the past year because you were really sharp in seeing what was going on, and it also gave me a lot of insight in what was like how Poki was working, so how things went, but also what wasn't working. I think I've learned a lot from that personally. I think also we as a company have learned a lot about that personally. What I also like about this photo is I was there, like Jurgen, a few others as well. And it was a really nice, it was a fun vibe, I think, at that point, because it was really tense and also really, I don't know, playful at the same time. And I think it's also a bit of a symbol that, like, despite the challenges, you've really managed to connect with like the whole team. And you really became a part of the team in the past year. And I was happy to see that. So you'll be joining forces with Bartosz again. Doesn't surprise me too much. I'm going to do freelance agile consulting in a company called MindTwist. So we're sad to see you go, but also pretty confident you'll be able to add a lot of value and twist minds in other places. So thanks a lot for everything in the past year. We're sad to see you go, but wish you the best of luck next adventure. Thanks.
There we go.
Can we open the microphone? Oh, that's nice. That's very nice. Oh, that's very nice. That's very nice. Thank you. Oh, okay.
That's nice.
We'll see each other in the middle part. Yeah. Right? Thank you. Nice. And thank you everybody. It was nice to be here. And I also learned from all of you a lot. And I really enjoyed to work with every one of you, and you are awesome people.
I will have a glass of wine and then I will say a word.
Yes, so let's grab the drinks. We have some nice Russian cocktail, Moscow Mule, because we're going to take the night to the rest of the day. Let's grab the stuff all together and go upstairs to the room. This is a really nice thing.
I'm not joining you guys there. Thanks for sharing working
Enjoy tonight, everybody. See you next week. Smoke in the room. Say.
Moet weer wachten.
No, it's over.
Just like legal threats.
Sharon, look, you new pensions. I gotta go. Gotta work on it. Wish all the best. Thanks.
ignore the person. Don't get rid of that. Don't negotiate with others. Yeah, I think having a business for a long time, in different shapes, 10+ years or something, in legal stuff, it's tough. It's still 5%. It's 5% of the time. In many different ways. Maybe more, I don't know. Maybe more. Yeah. Well, you can try certain extent. Yes. Yes. I'm gonna try. Go to the restroom. Oh, should I take something? I can take it. Oh yeah, I'll go to the restroom.
From here to upstairs. The scary line, the scary line, yeah. Is it it's
Wij toch niet zo laat. Dus om pas om 6 uur vandaag. Dus maar ik ga hem zo nog wel even bellen, maar ik ga nu wel gewoon een drankje drinken.
Tuurlijk.
Ja.
Dan had dat sowieso gemogen.
Ja, nee, maar ik wil wel serieus en ik voel me echt als ik aanspreken wat goed is. En ik wil het gewoon best doen, maar ja, ik ga het even kort houden en ik zeg, nee, ik leg het uit over de rol van en ik zeg van één vraagje over wat ik voor twijfel en dan
Ja, en dan gewoon zeggen van, ben je volgende week beschikbaar voor een koffie? En dan, nou, dat is zo leuk.
Dus dan probeer ik om 6 uur om allemaal livestream.